wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
The Veracity Podcast.
Discovery Sessions.
What's up, Vancouver Island? This is Brett, and you are listening to the Veracity Podcast. Today we have my good friend Craig McMorris on the show. Craig will need no introduction for most of you, but for those who do, he is a professional snowboarder by trade who is best known for his insane backcountry and street video parts. He is also 2019 X Games Real Snow bronze medalist and a former elite slopestyle competitor. When Craig isn't strapped into a snowboard, he is also a television host and snowboard analyst with CBC Olympics and the ESPN X Games. We hope you enjoy this one. Thanks for joining us today, Craig. It's great to have you on the podcast. It's nice that we can kind of do this remotely given the current situation, and I know it'd be tough to get you in here studio, so it works out well for our first online cast.
Am I the first one?
Yeah, man.
Am I the
Yeah, number one. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I got a lot of feathers in my cap, but I think this...
On the Veracity Podcast, we got like 13 followers on Twitter, so it's a pretty big deal.
It's more than zero. That's it. You gotta
that's true. Yeah.
Always more than zero.
Yeah. Right on, man. So I'm sure you need no introduction, especially in BC, but elsewhere as well. But you're a professional snowboarder by trade, and currently living in Whistler and snowboarding out of there for the most part.
Yeah, it's super weird because this is the longest I've ever been in one place since I think like high school. Like the longest like I've ever spent in a single like little city or anything like that. So it's really, really trippy, big lifestyle change. And I've never ate in my house so much.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I eat out maybe like 3 times a day. Sometimes, yeah. So like mostly 2, sometimes 3.
Man, it takes a lot of time.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You don't,
like if you're busy like throughout the day, even like with my stuff right now, like I'm attempting to do the work from home thing, and I'm just like I'm a laptop jockey right now, so I'm just But even then, like if you're doing 3 square meals a day, it's like that's a lot of time, man. It takes up a decent amount of time.
And I'm not going to lie to you, my girlfriend does the cooking. I'm on the dishes, okay? So it's a team thing.
Hey,
don't
exactly.
blame me.
That seems like a fair division of labor to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I kind of lucked out. We said this, we're in quarantine heaven right now, actually. It's really nice. Got a good spot in Whistler, eating good food and doing all like that good stuff.
Right on, man. So what does your day-to-day look like now? Like it's a pretty crazy time for everyone, but for you as well. Like are you still able to get out snowboarding? I know that like likely Whistler shut down the resort.
Yep.
So
they shut down a while ago. My day-to-day is like there was a lot of talk of like going in the backcountry and possibly filming because I mean that's like you're not around anybody and they can't really close a mountain or
ample
whatever.
Distance out there.
Yeah, very ample distance. Very, very good at it. But I just think it'd be too much of a risk if you got hurt, because that's what happens a lot of the time when you're back there is you get hurt and you have to go to the hospital or something like that. So I don't think it's worth the risk right now. And then also the weather's been really nice, beautiful, but really warm, and that kind of ruins the snow. So haven't really been doing any snowboarding, but what I have been doing is taking after you, Brett, and hosting a little show on Instagram Live. We call it Happy Hour, and we have a guest on for about 15 to 30 minutes and just kind of, shoot the breeze and talk about what they've been up to. And just, it's really interesting because I have a lot of these friends who, are pretty popular and stuff like that. And you have these conversations with them, but until you sit down and interview them and go back in their past and some of the people who follow the program will ask questions for that guest. Like once you sit down and have that interview conversation, you learn a lot about the person you really didn't know. So he is your friend and you thought you'd do that. So I've been doing that like kind of every single day, and it's been fun. Right on.
Yeah. And you've had like a pretty solid diversity of guests too. Like I saw you had Jay on right on the show. Was that last night?
Jay was...
No. 2 nights ago, I think, but...
Yeah, it was like a few nights ago. Jay is so funny. And that was what I wanted to do, is like it could be easy just to fall into... and I don't know if you see this with your show as well, but like it's easy to just fall into like the low-hanging fruit. Like for me, it'd be snowboarders, like I've spent so much time with snowboarders and just like interview all these different snowboarders. But I think it's a lot cooler when you have conversations with people who are from totally different worlds. Like Danny Davis was on the program today, or we're going to have Tyson Berry, an NHL player. They're like 2 super different dudes.
For sure.
I think that's going to be cool.
That's really cool. And it is true, man. Like I think for me, the low hanging fruit is like my comfortable zone is like talking science and doing that kind of thing. But it's good to get outside your comfort zone and explore some other topics. I mean, like for us, we're still we're still in this startup phase where it's kind of like anyone we can get, right? Like, and you try to make, it's tough because you have to garner a certain following before you get like people that, you know, are actively seeking you out to come on the show. So you're constantly messaging people and trying to get, you know, people that are interesting and have something to say to come on. But no, it's cool. It's cool. And it's been,
then why'd you get me?
Yeah, I've been asking myself that question all day, man.
Not interesting. Doesn't have anything to say.
Nothing. Yeah. No, man, that's cool. So you were saying, yeah, you're posted up in Whistler now long term, and prior to that, your home base was in Regina. And I think over the last little while, I've felt just kind of like I'm like the hype boy for lads from Regina. It's like been, I think, 3 of my 4 guests on here so far is just like people that I know from back home that are doing awesome stuff and happen to be on the West Coast. So
that's rad. Who are your most recent guests?
Well, Danny Oliver. So I've had like Danny Oliver was on the show, and so we'll be releasing his soon here. And then I don't know if you know the name Sam Van Ginkel was out. He's a master's student at Carleton right now studying psychology. So we were just talking about like that was a cool conversation, just like the psychology of happiness and which is kind of his realm of study. And
so did you figure it out?
No, man, no, it's impossible. No one's happy. That's what we figured out. No one's got to figure it out. Yeah, you want the tips. Yeah, and you'll know the name Michelle Pugsley. Oh, Pugs from Leboldus was on the show.
Wait.
Yeah, man, she was living out here for a while, and she's just, she's just a rad chick. She's an intensive care unit nurse, and so we talked to her and had a recording, and that was like a while ago, still before shutdown, and so that was really cool.
How insane is that job?
I
every day
you
imagine. Go into work, you're like this. Like, can I swear on this podcast?
Absolutely, yeah. Say whatever you want.
Like, you're gonna see the most fucked up stuff every day, man.
Some of her stories are mental, and like the mental fortitude it takes to like step into that every day, and then just like work through that and come to terms with it, and then go back again and again and again is a crazy thing.
It's funny because like what I do for a living is snowboard, and you know, like you talk to like basketball players or football players, and like these are grown men playing games, like straight up just playing games, and you realize how insignificant your fucking job is. And when you hear somebody like that, you're like, okay, you're actually a hero. You're actually doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I feel. That's how I feel. Like it's so insane.
I wouldn't sell yourself short, really, but I wouldn't sell yourself short. But I think you guys have it's different, but your own challenges and obstacles, and I know, I mean, when you're a professional athlete and you garner yourself a certain following and you have this platform, and I know that you and your brother Mark do amazing things with the McMorris Foundation for you know, and that's not trivial stuff, you know. So it's cool that like you can get to this point where you get to make a living out of what you love, and that happens to be snowboarding, but you also use that to affect some greater good, and I think that's super cool, man. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to ask you this. I want to ask you a question. I know it's your podcast.
No worries, man. Yeah,
but I really want to ask you, did you do research before you interviewed me?
I did, man. I read the Red Bull bio, but like other than that, not really.
I was wondering. I'm like, because I like to do a lot of research before I interview somebody, and you always find out the weirdest, randomest thing. So I was wondering what you found out about me. If there's anything you're like, what?
I did do a little bit of research, and no, I didn't turn up too much dirt. I mean, like I have some stuff from the McMorris and McMorris MTV show that we could bring to the surface again after a couple of years, but I don't know if I want to do that to you.
I was a very young man. I was supplied with copious amounts of drinks. And,
I can imagine. Yeah. It makes for good television, I suppose.
Thank you.
What was that experience like? I mean, you guys did one season on MTV Canada.
Yep.
And I mean, to my knowledge, first of all, are you guys planning on doing a second one? I know it's been a while, or is that just kind of not worth your time?
So, you know, it was super fun to do it and stuff like that. Just like now where we're at, it's just like a little bit different from where we were at in our careers then. What was so crazy about that is like Red Bull Canada. They launched this thing called Red Bull Canada Media House. Like Red Bull Austria is like the number one, you know, the big head honcho. That's where the head office is, and they have their own media house. But America and Canada got their own media houses. So Canada hired this fellow by the name of Jason Ford to come in and run Red Bull Canada Media House, and he wanted to get something on MTV. So he's like, who do we have that we could maybe work with? We went in. we talked to them, we met them all, and we're like, yeah, we're down to do this kind of show, and like, what's your idea of it and stuff like that. And then it was just like radio silence, and we're like, oh, I don't think, like, nothing's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. And then like literally on January 1st, they're like, okay, you got 8 episodes, you got to pick a director, you got to do this kind of stuff. And then it was just like go time, and it was like the craziest winter summer of my life. It was really, really fun, but exhausting. Like,
yeah, I can imagine. I got the opportunity to get a little bit of a peek into that. Like, we had the first episode that you guys did was the shinny game out at your cabin. And it was, I found it fascinating to, like, cause we were on the bus going out there, for this big shinny game that was being filmed. And then at one point, like, the party bus that we were on parked it like halfway through. And then the TV crews came on, and like you said, that like leading up to that, they had just like been feeding us copious amounts of liquor right on the way out. And it was so fascinating for me to see the switch get flipped as soon as the cameras came on. Right. And everyone is just like, myself included, I mean, is not immune to this, like just kind of becomes a different person in that moment when they're not used to being in front of the camera. Right. And it was, I found that being fascinating. So like, what was that like for you? Do you feel like that was your first time, being in the public eye as a personality as opposed to a snowboarder?
Yeah, for sure. I learned so much from it. It was insane. Like the amount of I always think I wish I could go back, because that's like a golden opportunity, like I'm very happy with the product that we put out, and I think it's entertaining. I think it's funny. I just wish I could go back and just like be even more funny and like do this and go a little bit crazier on this and stuff like that. Because I was just like, I was young. I think I was like 21 or 20, doing that. And like, that's, so, and I just wasn't as smart as I am now, but hindsight's always 2020. And we were so lucky. I'm blessed, count my lucky stars. We had to pick a group of from a set of directors, we had to pick one who was going to direct this show. And we picked the guy by the name of Alex Craig, and he's one of my best friends. And like, just like that, just picking somebody random and then them coming in your life and changing it completely, being on your team and being funny and seeing stuff your way is that was like one of the craziest, luckiest things that's ever happened. But I mean, I don't regret any of it for a second. It was all so fun.
Of course. Yeah. And like I said, it was cool to get a peek into that world, and a world that I otherwise wouldn't, get to take a look at. And I think the other episode we did was it was Adult Safe Sea League, Regina, Saskatchewan, the summer hockey. Remember that? And
oh my god! Oh yes, yes.
And then so they were filming that, and then because we had a couple of pints on the bench there, right? And then like the league, the league admin just got fired up. Yeah. We ended up getting kicked out of the league on that one. And,
that guy was so mad.
Yeah.
Like he lost his mind. That was crazy.
He let us finish the game though, so that was nice. But
I think there might have been other issues there.
There could have been some other issues there. Yeah. So I guess you continued with your media career after that, right? So maybe you can talk a bit about your experience with the Olympics and what you've been doing with CBC.
So it was really funny. I don't know if you've ever been put in a situation where it's just like sink or swim. The first thing that I broadcast was the Olympics. Yeah. Right? Like, yeah. So I
wasn't sure if you had done the X Games first or if you just went.
Yeah. It was
right into the deep end, hey?
Yeah. 2014 Sochi, Russia, still, wet behind the ears pretty much, especially in the broadcasting world. And then just like go commentate the Olympics. And I was in Russia for a month. Wow. A month in Russia. And like every day you like go to the hill and you're like just like it's just so gnarly. It was just really, really intense. It was like I don't know, like boot camp for broadcasting, like it's really hard. You're in this little box, like you're talking to people that are in Toronto just in your headphones, but you're just like in this little box, like no help from anyone, that's what it really felt like, because I mean, they can only send so many people, So my co-commentator, Rob Snook, was the fellow I was doing with, and he was so kind to me. He was so patient, so nice, really funny, was down. Like some broadcasters could have been like, this is like a joke. This kid's so young, and like, I don't think he knows what he's talking about or anything like that. But there was never any of that. He was always on board and wanted to do fun stuff and wanted to make the best product we could. And it was rad. So it was really fun to do that. And then 4 years later, go to Pyeongchang and do that again. So I've been to 3 Olympics now, 1 summer and two winter, and obviously was going to be going to Tokyo. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen until next year.
Yeah. That's so. Yeah, I guess you were in Rio, was it, for the summer, and you were kind of. So, what was your role there? Were you, if I remember correctly, you were kind of like Craig in the streets, a little bit, kind of, yeah.
So I was, that's probably the best way to put it. It was called Rio on the Edge,
Right.
And what's the craziest thing is Samsung sponsored it, and I still just don't know what happened to this day. They're like, you have to film this whole thing on Samsung Edge phones, and I was like, okay. That's insane, right. First of all.
Yeah.
All right. You're crazy. Yeah, I like you, but you're crazy. And then, so we film this, and then like we send in our first video, and we have to do a video every single day. Like something really different, something exciting, but like the turnaround time of like going out, shooting it, and then coming back and editing it, and then putting it out there all in one day. Like that's crazy. Yeah. So Dave Ehrenreich was the guy who was directing, and Adam Burwell was producing, but Dave was like directing, shooting everything, and editing everything. He did everything. It was the craziest month to watch somebody work that hard, and he did such a good job. But anyways, we were shooting it all on phones, and then like the second day, they're like, yeah, we don't want to see any of the phone, like don't show that you're filming it on phones. Like what? The whole point of this was to like, I just like never understood that. So it was like it was super random, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And I don't know, Brazil's a crazy ass country.
I can imagine it looked nuts for sure.
It was nutty. And especially going to the Winter Olympics, the Summer Olympics are actually 3 times bigger than the Winter Olympics. And you think the Winter Olympics are big, you know, like Canada has a big presence, stuff like that. But the Summer Olympics is just
blow it out of the water.
Nutty.
Hey? Yeah. Well, obviously with the commentating, there's like it's unscripted, right? You're commentating a live event, and so like I just like reflecting on this practice, you know, stepping in front of like the camera and the mic for the podcast. But like if I say something really fucked up, like if I really put my foot in my mouth, like we can go back, and Christian's a whiz. He can, you know, snip it up, edit, like put it back together and make me look good. But like that's live to, you know, live to air, straight out there to the world. Like what is that like? Do you first of all, what is that like? And second of all, do you find yourself, do you watch yourself in that role after, or is that just a little bit too much to handle and get you a little bit too much in your head?
You know what? I've been lucky because I get to call stuff that I really love. Like I really love talking about snowboarding. I really love watching snowboarding, you know, and especially at that high level and you know, what's on the line and stuff like that. So I'm genuinely like excited and want to be there. And when you want to be there and in it, you're like hyper focused, you know, like I haven't made, knock on wood, any crazy slips or anything like that. So I've been really, really lucky. And then as far as going back and watching it, especially with ESPN, I work with Brandon Graham, and I've worked with him the whole time. Yeah, for X Games, ESPN X Games. Excuse me, for everything we've called, and he is amazing. He's so funny. I go back and just watch like him, you know, and like I'm like, the other dude's kind of annoying, but Brandon's amazing, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I was watching your guys' X Games recap, like the top moments. I think I sent you a message about that, like as I was watching it, and like I was with some friends in Calgary, and we were just laughing our asses off, like the both of you together. It's like, it's a good mix for sure.
It's so sick to have, like, so lucky. Again, like when we chose that MTV director, like so lucky I got partnered with Brandon Graham, because like we are like super tight. We text like every single day, you know, but it could have gone any different way, you know, like you're forced to work with this person, and turns out he's the best there is, you know, like so lucky, man. So lucky.
So how do you find yourself allocating time or juggling those two roles? I suppose the contest season is likely done now, but you're obviously in, you know, X Games, Aspen, and then Europe.
X Games, Norway. Yeah. So it's really funny. Like, I don't know, once like, start of November hits, it's just like you were going to work every single day, you know, like if you're not, like I don't call too many things. Like I like to be really exclusive. So I'm only going to call the X Games, and I'm only going to call the Olympics, you know, unless there's like some other like offer that I can't say no to. But I like to keep my winter snowboarding, because at the end of the day, like pro snowboarding is the number one job, you know, that's all just side thing, you know? Yeah,
that was where my question was going. So do you find that you get to do as much snowboarding as you'd like? So I suppose you spend most of your time filming these days, right?
Yeah. So that's like what I do mostly. And in snowboarding, it's very niche, but like you can either like be in the backcountry, like on snowmobiles and stuff like that, which is great for Whistler. And I do that all winter. And then you can also like film rails like skateboarders do. So I do a bit of both. And I actually competed in X Games Real Snow this year, which is an X Games event. So I did that at the start of the winter, and then I'll usually go into the backcountry at the end. But to answer your question, I never feel like I have enough time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, true.
You always need more time. You always want more time, just like, because the days go, they go really fast, and then next thing you know, it's the middle of summer.
Yeah. Do you have a preference there? Like, if you had to take your pick, do you prefer to be in the backcountry, or do you prefer sort of like the skate style street and rail snowboarding?
I think about this a lot, and if I had to choose one, I honestly don't think I could, because I love the refreshing, like, to switch it up. Like, they're so completely different, like
For
when
sure.
you're filming rails, like you're in a city, you're dealing with people, you're looking at spots and like figuring out when the security guard's going to be there, or is he not going to be there, or like understanding like when a business hours are closed and we can go here on a Sunday or something like that. Whereas the backcountry, you just like, you wake up super early, get on your snowmobile in the parking lot, and then you just go. And like, especially in Whistler, you can go forever and ever and ever,
Yeah, for
and you
sure.
don't see another person.
I was about to say that maybe the street aspect of snowboarding allows you to infuse a little bit more creativity into your riding, but I suppose you get that in the backcountry too. I mean, you're never going to ride the same line twice, right?
Exactly. That's a really good point, Brett. That's an extremely good point. I couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, you're never going to ride the same line twice. And what's crazy is the snow and the wind change it every, you go up one year and you're like, wow, that's a perfect landing. I can build a jump there. And you go up the next year and it's like flat, like it just didn't form up or something like that, So you just, the only way to figure out is to go out there. But I couldn't pick one. I couldn't,
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
right now. Maybe when I'm older,
Okay, I won't ask you to.
Backcountry. My job, I gotta answer the questions.
Yeah. So you did the X Games Real Snow, and I didn't. So I was voting, but I didn't see if the results came down the pipe. Have they announced that yet?
So I didn't win the fan voting or anything like that. I was really happy with my edit.
Yeah, it was unreal. So good.
Thank you. I broke my ribs on the very first spot, so that really sucked. So you speak of like losing time, like you only have 2 months to compete in that event, right? To get a minute 30 video. X Games takes up a week. Christmas and New Year's take up a week, and then breaking your ribs takes up like 6 weeks. So that was all in like 2.5, 3 weeks of filming. So I was happy that I even put anything out there, because there was a time when I was like, I think at the end of December, right after I broke my ribs, I was just like, oh, like, I don't know, like, do I just like forfeit, or like, do I give up, or all this kind of stuff? But I was lucky that my rib break wasn't in a spot where I could like puncture a lung or anything like that. And the specialist was like, give it as long as you can. But I mean, they're susceptible to break again way easier, but you're not going to like kill yourself if you fall.
Totally. I feel like
which is bonus,
Just a great news
That's
for everyone involved. Yeah. I feel like people, I mean, for the real snow, I guess you got what, like 3 minutes, like a 3-minute video part, and you're trying to get shots from different spots, doing different tricks, right? And I feel like
exactly
that final product, right? Each spot you might get like a couple seconds like clip of it, but I don't think people understand or have any intuition as to what it's like to get that shot, like how many times you're lapping that spot.
The amount of work it's crazy. It's actually crazy. You see that one spot and you're like a real snow schedule for me. Like, we got lucky on the weekends. We can maybe get 1 or 2 shots a day, but like during the week you get like 1 shot every 3 days, and you're like working and working and working. And then you finally get the shot. Best feeling. Nothing in the world compares to it. But the work that you mentioned is just, it's crazy, because you got to build everything, right? Like, you got to build the takeoff, you got to build the landing, you got to shovel out the stairs, you probably have to move a fence, you'll have to like do all this kind of stuff. So it takes so much time.
Yeah, there's the grunt work, and then there's the like just the sheer number of times you have to huck yourself off of that kicker to get the trick, right? Like, so
exactly.
Yeah. So how much, I mean, are you kind of, when you're filming these things, are you kind of tackling, is it like a spot a day? Are you just like one spot per day, you're lapping it until you're gassed, and then that's it? Or
it's kind of like, one thing you really got to do too is not like it's easy. There's like low hanging fruit. There's spots that are like really famous and a lot of people have filmed a trick on that.
Right.
And you kind of want to find new stuff, stuff people haven't seen. So we went out to Sudbury, and not very many people have filmed in Sudbury. We started in Montreal. There was no snow. We had to drive somewhere where there's snow. So we went to Sudbury. So it was kind of more like drive around, pick all these spots. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I can do this trick on this, and I can do this trick on this, and this will be good to try this trick. And then you kind of like pick them off when it's best to hit those spots. But I mean, I was lucky because I always had 2 filmers, so I didn't have to do stuff like over and over and over again, even if I got it. Like once I got the trick, we're usually like pretty good, other than like a cut shot. Yeah. I got angles, man. I got angles.
You got the angles.
So yeah. So it just depends. Like there's one trick in there, switch 50-50. It's my ender, and I went there and tried it for like 3 or 4 hours, and like didn't get it. And then went back the next day and tried it again for like another hour and got it. And it was like the best feeling ever. It was crazy. It was really funny at that spot too, because nobody's ever hit that rail, but I knew that some Quebec guys had been to that rail. So I didn't really know. And this lady comes out of her house and she's like, oh, are you snowboarding down the rail? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, the guys that were here last had to call the ambulance. Good luck. Like,
oh shit. Yeah, that's some bad juju, man.
Yo, can we get a vibe check on this?
Yeah, seriously, get this lady out of here.
It's really funny,
doubt, man.
Yeah, it's different. And then some of the clips, they kind of come a little bit, 3rd or 4th try.
Yeah, for sure. So you said you came off a rib injury. So when was that?
Broke the rib. Wow. For like maybe on a day after my birthday, actually, December 15th. December 15th, I broke my rib, and I always film with Anto Chamberlain. And I didn't know I broke my rib at the time it happened. I was just like, all my stomach muscles are pulled. This hurts so much. Like, I'm going to be okay in a couple days, so I'm not going to fly home yet. I'm going to wait it out. The next day, Anto breaks his leg, and it's bad. But
the same
like,
spot?
No, totally different spot. Like we were hitting different stuff, but I'm like, okay, this sucks. Anto can't really, like walk right now, but he's like, no, it's not broken. I'm fine. And then, so we're just both so banged up, and it's both our first spots. Everybody in the crew is just like, oh my God, we got a couple Band-Aids out here.
Yeah.
But then I tried to, I gave it like 2 or 3 days, and we had this one spot off a school roof. So I was like, I'm going to try to snowboard again. I'm going to try. And I just like jumped off the roof and was like, okay, I can't even like breathe. So I should probably get this figured out. So I had to fly back. And then luckily, like the Christmas and New Year's, that was a break in there, and had some time and spent time with the family and healed up. And it really isn't bugging me anymore, which is really rad.
That's sweet. Yeah. So do you have, well, I guess to stay on the injury bit here. So the broken rib this year, and I don't know if was it last year or 2 seasons ago where you had the really bad leg break?
Oh, that was
or was that a little longer?
That's like 2016, I think.
2016.
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Or 2016, 2017, something like that. Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. I know that for sure.
Yeah, so I mean,
that one sucked.
Yeah, it looked gnarly. Like, he posted a picture of that X-ray, and I almost vomited on my chest. And yeah, it's like there's something about leg breaks. Like I can do like, or just like limb breaks. I can do blood and like open wounds and stuff. But as soon as like that, just I don't know, that type of injury just
roll their ankle, I start screaming.
Seriously,
like I can't watch if your body part bends a way that it shouldn't bend. That's
it's game over for me.
For that reason, I'm out. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
And for that reason, I'm out.
So, I guess first of all, like, what's your rehab process like? Both, I mean, there's a physical aspect to that, obviously, and then there's also a mental aspect to it, right? Because to do these tricks, to get yourself, in a position where you can huck yourself off of these booters or these kickers and slide down handrails, there's a mental dynamic there as well. So how do you, I guess, what's rehab like from a physical perspective, and then also from a mental perspective, so that you can get your head back in that mindset where you can do that?
I'm very lucky. I work with a guy named Damian Maroney at Fortius Sports Center in Burnaby, BC. He has been with me and Mark for a number of years now, and he works through Red Bull. So I'm really lucky that I always get to rehab with him, and he's worked with tons of different athletes, and he's like really into action sports and really is like understanding snowboarding and stuff like that. So I spend as much time with him as possible, and he's really real, he's not, he's like, you're not even close.
Yeah, he's not
like,
pumping your tires.
Yeah. No, only deflation.
Yeah, I mean that's going to reflect poorly on him too. If he inflates your head to the point where you're out there before you should be. Then
exactly.
Then he's got some problems to worry about as well.
Yeah, he's the man. And then I don't know, like the head stuff is crazy. Like some people will hurt themselves and just be like, "No, I'm done."
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm over it. And then I just remember, like, whenever I hurt myself, I'm just really lucky. I'm just counting down the days. I'm like, okay, I know. I think it's this. I can go snowboarding again at this time. Like the only time it really fucked with me was when like I watched people get hurt. That's like when you watch somebody else get hurt and you're there and like helping them through it. That is like way gnarlier to me than when I hurt myself.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an aspect there where like you're watching someone else suffer, whereas like when it's happening to you, you're working through it moment to moment. You're handling it for better or for worse. But there's something about seeing someone else get hurt, and I know that you had what had to be a pretty traumatizing experience with your brother Mark in the backcountry. That
super traumatizing. But like the leg break that we mentioned, like that taught me so much about like rescue and stuff like that, and just like understanding timelines and stuff. Like I thought the leg break was the worst day of my life, but it turned out to like help me so much when we had to do like a rescue on Mark and stuff like that. So I mean, every one of those situations you learn so much. You don't want them to happen, but if you happen, you take what you learn and use that. But that's the example. Like I was like a little messed up. Like I was like a little more timid, I would say. And I hate when I'm snowboarding timid after you watch somebody get hurt. You just want to be able to go for it. And
so I guess for listeners that maybe aren't aware of what happened there, you were in the backcountry. Speaking of risk, right? You were in the backcountry. Mm-hmm. Were you filming, or were you just out there for fun? Yeah,
we were filming. Yeah. We were hitting a spot and stuff like that. And it was like a really, really gnarly accident. Hit a tree. Mark hit a tree really fast, and then it was just he broke the entire left side of his body and stuff like that. And when you're out there, you don't know internally, like you can only talk to them and like, okay, your arm's probably broken and your hip's probably broken and stuff like that, but you don't know the internal damage. So that's why like time is of the essence. And that's what I learned when I broke my leg, is like the fastest they're going to get you is like an hour and 45, 2 hours. So you kind of got to figure out, hunker down, keep the person who's hurt safe and as warm as possible, because when you're hurt you get so cold so fast. So like that's one of the biggest challenges there. But I don't know, it sucked. If you want to watch it, you can watch Unbroken, Mark's documentary. I think it's on iTunes and everything if you are interested in that story and want to get deeper into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I obviously have been following along with you and Mark throughout the years and stuff, and watched that. And I mean, some of the footage from that day is just it's sobering, to say the least. Yeah,
very sobering.
But
that's a good way to put it.
What was cool to see is that like how quickly everyone just sprung into action, right? Like I wasn't there, but I can, like, it seemed to me as though like there was little in the way of panic, and that everyone just, and you included, I mean, Mark himself has like accredited you with saving his life out there, and it seems as though you just kind of sprung into action. Like you had the knowledge and
that's the thing. Like, the scene in Old School when Will Ferrell's in the locker room screaming, "Nobody panic." Yeah, like you just don't need that guy out there. You know, like,
for sure.
Everybody knows like the severity of the situation. Well, we understood the severity of the situation. You learn after, like when you hear about all the things that actually was going on in there. So you understand the severity of the situation, and it doesn't help to go crazy. Just got to be calm. And when I'm going to use the term patient, like when you're talking to them, they're really seeing and judging how dangerous this is off of you too. Like if you're freaking out and like look super scared and panicky, that's going to make them scared and panicky. Like when I broke my leg, everybody was like super chill.
Yeah.
I was like,
"You're good, dude."
Yeah, you're good. Like just, you're going to get in the heli. It's going to be fine. We're just going to wait it out, like chatting and keeping it mellow. And that's what we tried to do with Mark, as much as we could. But when you break your jaw on both sides, you're not the chattiest person in the world.
Yeah, no, fair enough, man. And
not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. So like it seems like there's got to be like a point whereby like you either something happens to you or you witness something happen, and then you're either you're traumatized, you're spooked, you're timid or whatever. But it seems like for both of you and for action sports athletes in general, where there comes a time where like just the itch to get back at it, like starts to override that, where it's just like you're just discontent not being on a snowboard.
Exactly. And you know what I would say about that is like being timid and being cautious and stuff like that. A lot of the tricks and stuff like that, if you want to hit big stuff and do gnarly tricks, you can't be timid. You can't have any reservation on the takeoff or like, you have to go for it. You have to try your hardest.
Or you're putting yourself in more danger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like if you're standing there and somebody's going to do a standing backflip and they only give it 50%, you're going to get absolutely smoked. But if you give it 100%, you're going to get there.
I've tried that one a few times.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to give it 100%. 100%. But it's so true. Like you realize, like if you're timid or scared, you're probably going to get hurt.
Part of being a professional is, knowing your own limits and knowing, when conditions are such that you just need to pull the plug. And
yeah, exactly. Risk reward. As you get older and the more time you spend like doing it, like the smarter I get. I remember when I was younger, I look back on some of the decisions I made snowboard wise, and that was so dumb. Like you didn't get anything out of it and you just had so much to risk, Yeah. Like why would you do that? But as you get older, you make some good decisions. And
yeah, for sure. It seems to happen with years. Like it just, there's something about the frontal lobe coming online that just like you become more aware of how, I don't know, your own mortality and how like, your body starts to stiffen up. You can't do the things you used to. And you're like, man, if something goes wrong, I'm done. Like it's game over.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This getting sore is the worst. I know we're both very young men, but like, it's different when you're 20 and 21 as opposed to like in your late 20s. Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame.
Drink a 2.6 of Jack and then hit the hill the day after and you're good. Like
actually, you're like, oh,
that's all right.
Just have a little headache. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But now, like today, I was like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Straight up.
Yeah, man. After your commentating obligations were done, did you have any projects on the go? Like, are you in the middle of filming right now?
So I was doing a commercial like shoot, like video exploration thing with King Snow. It's a magazine.
Magazine, King Snow's great.
And Toyota. Yeah. And Toyota was sponsoring it. And it was me, Mikey Cicerelli, and Sean Miskimen, two other Canadian boarders who absolutely rip. And we were doing like this 2-week adventure all through Alberta. Like riding different parks, riding some backcountry, gonna ride some street, do all of this. And it started. So we drove 10 hours to Banff. Cause there was like, people were like kind of scared, like COP had this thing out where if you'd been to the Vancouver airport, you weren't allowed on their hill or something like that, but nothing of the magnitude that we've seen now, So we drive 10 hours to Banff. We go ride Sunshine for day one, have a great day one, get back. The people who are like producing the shoot are like, yeah, our bosses said everybody has to go home. So then we just like okay. Then we just drove 10 hours back to Whistler.
Yeah.
So I drove 20 hours in 3 days and snowboarded once.
Shit. And that was the last, do you,
I haven't left my house since.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, so you guys did get out on the sleds with BMAC for a little bit.
Yeah. And we did. Yeah. I'll go so we live in the north part of Whistler, and there's a very little, really mellow sled zone right behind our house. Mm-hmm. So it's like the first turn off if you're going north from where we are. So I'll just go up there and mess around on the sled or whatever, do some laps and stuff like that. It's really chill, but, yeah, other than that, I don't know what else to do. I'm running, Brett. I'm running. I'm not a runner. I'm learning how to run.
Man.
I made it. Have you been running?
Yeah, I have. Unfortunately, yeah. This is what it's come to, man.
I love it. I look forward to it. Like when you're doing it all the time, it feels good. But we ate Earls before we ran, and the French fries were sitting heavy,
sitting low in the gut.
Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to make it on the pod. I was going to be like,
oh shit! Well, that's why we pushed it back a bit. Yeah. You had to go punish some porcelain before hopping on here. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm drinking ginger tea just to ease the stomach here.
Nice. Yeah. Good on you.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty good for our first virtual podcast, man. Thanks for joining us. It's been cool it's been a while since you and I have had a chance to catch up and chat, and it's nice, man. It's good to see you again. Yeah.
You too. I can't wait to get out to Victoria, and hopefully I can come on the pod in person next time.
Yeah, we'd love to have you, and I'll let you know next time in Whistler, Squamish area.
You come on my pod.
Yeah. Do you have a pod?
I'm going to start one for you.
Well, you should. Yeah. You want to co-host?
Yeah, perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I'm not very good at this though, so you might want to find someone else.
I think you're doing very good.
It
It was an enjoyable conversation. Hopefully, folks at home like it too.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right, thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Brett. You're the man.
You too, bud. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Veracity podcast. If you enjoyed the last hour or so of your life and you want to support us, you can subscribe, comment, or share on whatever platform you like. If you're interested in sitting down and having a chat with us, you can visit theveracitypodcast.com, scroll down to the contact section, and drop us a line. Cheers.